Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Alex's Afternoon Art Show. I kind of mumbled my way through that. But today we are drawing Dante from the Devil May Cry series. Yeah, the meme is alive. Whatever. Anyways, yeah, so we're going to probably be talking mostly about posing, I think. Maybe. That's kind of what I'm going to be covering here today, more or less. I think, more so than anything else. I'm hoping that I can kind of blast through this one because the last one took a lot longer than I really wanted it to. But yeah, I mean, because my time is a little bit more limited today. I started a slight bit later in the day. So yeah, my time is ever so slightly more limited. So I do want to try and shoot through this as fast as possible. But yeah, we've got a few other topics to touch on. I got to talk about drawing guns, because guns are not easy to draw. But yeah, that's one I'll need to touch on. Yeah, there's a couple of bits and pieces which I want to talk about, but yeah, I may as well just roll the intro and then we'll start doing that. So yeah. Okay, so this is what we got so far. So yeah, there's a few little bits which I'll touch on here. First of all, we're going to be dealing with some material weathering this time. So for example, the this jacket is, or his coat is obviously like a leather material, and so you're going to get these little bits of like kind of notching and little bits of weathering that you get on this kind of material. And so you get little bits of it here and on these little kind of little lines that you'll see. So I'll be just kind of doing these little etches throughout every now and then just to kind of sell that kind of weathering material. Another thing to note is folding. Because this is kind of a leathery material, you're going to get a lot more folding than you would on a lot of other... no, more defined folding than you would on a lot of other materials, because the way that it works, it's kind of a weird material in that sense of where it kind of all bunches in a very odd way. But yeah, and it is the same deal. Yeah, so I've also got to do these kind of tears on his inner sleeves, which is a whole other process. But yeah, realistically the trick for those is just do little thin ovals over and over and over again. And yeah, guns. So guns are a big pain to draw for one big reason: they have a very definite shape. You can take liberties here and there, but you always kind of need to adhere to a certain kind of shape with them. And obviously guns have a lot of details on them. They've got a lot of these little boxes and stuff like that on them. And little lines and stuff like that, and then drawing them at angles can be tremendously difficult. This is why reference is very useful for drawing guns, because otherwise it can make your life a little harder than it needs to be anyways. But yeah, so there's a couple of other little bits which I wanted to touch on here. Yeah, so because of the way that these kind of jackets are built, it's a case of where you get these little extra little what's the term? You get like a little extra little bit around, like these little lines around where the zippers are and stuff like this, and all the, like these little seams, these little bits of hemming. I don't know if that's the exact right word, but you know what I mean. And yeah, there's not as much of it on this. Yeah, there's not as much of it on show because obviously you can only see half the jacket, because over here this part is flying outwards, so you can't see it quite so much, and this one's folding out like that, so it's folding towards like at this kind of angle there, so you can't see much of it. But yeah, there's a few little bits which I'm going to be doing with his face. So I don't normally go for exact likenesses unless I'm actively using a facial reference, like an actual reference image that I'm using underneath. But yeah, here I feel like I've gotten a kind of a decent enough, like close enough to what is the general idea of how he looks in Devil May Cry 5. That's obviously the design we're working off of here. So another something worth noting is that, again, this is the thing I've touched on before, but it's with the face folds. So whenever you do a little smile like this and you're kind of enunciating your smile over on this side of the face, I can't really smile all that well. But yeah, whenever you're doing like that, you're underneath your eye curl, it folds a little bit. You get that little bit of a line underneath your eye. So here, because the smile is more intense on this side of his face, you're getting a little bit of extra folding underneath this eye. Whereas here, it's a little less intense, so you're getting still a little bit of a fold, but not as intense as it is over here. And that's just a little thing to make note of. It's even the same way with the way that like you get this kind of the cheek fold. You'll still get that on both sides. It's more intense here because he's not smiling over here. He's more smiling. He's smiling more over here. But yeah, is that all the little bits that I wanted to go over first? I think more or less it is. I mean, color-wise, this shouldn't be too difficult because it's going to be mostly red. And I'm probably going to use red as the background, but I do have to draw hair. Now, obviously, his hair isn't going to be this dark whenever I'm done with it on the details. He's got white hair, so that'll be a process. Trying to, because what I'm going to have to do is the same thing I normally do, which is with light hair, I always draw it kind of dark initially, because that's just how I draw my lines, and then I go in with the eraser and then thin it out slowly over time. Which is not a quick process, but it works for what we do. So yeah, I tried my best to kind of make his hair fall in the right way, because the way that his hair sits is not like super messy. It kind of like, it starts from the top and just kind of falls. It doesn't really have much in the way of like curling or any of this stuff. So I added little bits of this kind of, little bits of like messiness toward the back. Because there is a little bit of that. But not a huge amount. And yeah, so this is kind of the way that I tried to make it work. And I think it's okay, more or less. But yeah, I need to go and grab some reference images and stuff like this for my own benefit. But yeah, I will probably start the speeding up process about now because may as well. And yeah, I suppose, yeah, you'll see what I mean whenever I'm talking about some of the kind of stuff with drawing guns and all these little bits of detailing on the jacket and stuff like this. I will say that trying to find decent reference, which isn't too. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to find reference from Devil May Cry 5 where you get a good view of everything is quite difficult, because obviously you're going to get a lot of these dynamic poses wherein it might not be the easiest to see exactly what you need at all times. And yeah, so anyways, I think that's everything I needed to say. Yeah, I think that's all my pre-ramblings done. So yeah, I will start doing these details and then I'll be back at some point. Okay, so it is now the next day. I completed the details and it took 3 hours, plus the whole other host of little inconveniences which just kept happening over the course of the day. So now I'm back and I'm going to do the rest of this. So, colors, first of all. So yeah, as you can see while I was going, I did add those little bits of like weathering to the kind of leather and stuff like that. This is the kind of harder leather up here, so this has the weathering, and then you wouldn't get quite as much of it on the core coat because the core coat isn't as tough a material, and then you get it along these bits because there's obviously the harder, tougher material. Just realizing there's a bit of this which I almost certainly forgot to do, and it's this. Yep. Let me just do this here. This little seam on the arm, or on the sleeve, I mean. Yeah, oh god. Alright, well, we're dealing with silly issues now. So a thing that happens, you might see it sometimes, that there's suddenly gigantic thick lines, and then I will pause the recording, not so inconspicuously. When that happens, what I'm doing is I'm restarting Photoshop, because that's the only way that I can find that seems to fix this issue. It happens it's tremendously annoying, and it's completely random when it happens. So yeah, basically whenever I'm getting these colors ready, because that is our seam done, whenever I'm getting these colors ready, what I will do is I'll probably just restart Photoshop before I do anything. Yeah, so some things to note is that yes, I added the weathering to these bits of to these kind of harder bits of leather around the shoulders and on the hips here on this little piece of padding here. There's also a tiny bit of perspective going on here, in that this part of the coat is coming forward, this part is going backwards. So some of these seams are getting kind of blended together, and it's not all super clear. And you're going to get that here. And when it comes to the guns, there's a certain problem you're going to get whenever you're doing this stuff freehand, like I'm doing. I wasn't doing like if I do shift, you get a straight line, or if you do shift and then tap 1 to 1 point, you'll get a straight line from that as well. But I didn't do any of that here. I did this all freehand, which is why it's kind of like droopy. The gun here is kind of droopy and bendy, because that's just going to happen whenever you're dealing with this stuff. It's just going to kind of bend in ways, because you can't get like perfect straight lines. It's very difficult to get perfect straight lines without using a ruler or using the tools here to get you a straight line. So yeah, I thinned out a lot of the lines in here as well, and that was really the only other big thing, I think. I don't think there's a huge amount I need to go over before I start kind of getting into the nitty-gritty here. Yeah, there's a few different colors which I'm going to have to really consider here. So his shirt is this kind of like bluey color. It's like a slightly bluey black, and then his trousers are a very deep black. And that would be the same color as his gloves. And then he's got one black gun and one silver gun. So there's going to be some fiddling I'm going to have to do here. His belt buckle is kind of a goldy color. He's got some kind of goldy bits on his jacket. Yeah, I'm gonna have to. This is gonna take a little while. Do some of these colors. What I'm gonna do with the stubble, this is actually something which I meant to mention, is because he's got white hair and obviously he's going to have white stubble. What I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to effectively kind of cross-hatch in some white lines throughout this over the skin tone, so that it doesn't look too dark, so that his stubble doesn't look dark. Because as it stands, I've done a good job of lightening it up, but I need to color over it in order to get the actual lightness out of it. Because otherwise it'll remain at this kind of level, and it'll be like, okay, that's kind of dark stubble. You wouldn't really get that on white hair. And for his hair, because he has like unnaturally white hair, I'm going to add a slight bluey tone to it, so that it will kind of contrast. Coat color, the background color here is just going to be red. I think I'm just going to do like a bright red for the background, and then maybe do the double texture thing that I do sometimes. I'll do that for the background maybe. So yeah, I'll discuss lighting and stuff like that whenever we're getting to the painting, but otherwise I think that's everything I need to discuss now. So I will do the colors and then I'll be back to touch on the painting. So yeah. Okay, so that is our colours done. It is now time for the painting. And we're going to be going for something a little softer this time, I think, than the last few of these. The last few of these we've been doing very intense painted shading, and today I think I feel like doing something a little bit softer. So I have the opacity on the painting layer a little lower. It's at 70% this time. It's not at 80% or any of that stuff. So it's still reasonably high. We're just largely going to be going for kind of softer shading. So I think I'm probably going to stick with a purple and yellow palette in terms of the kind of the painted shading, because the overall color palette is going to be very red, and so I want two colors which are not red for our shading but are adjacent. So purple and yellow are adjacent. Well, maybe purple and orange should be how I do it. Something more orangey would be maybe more appropriate. We're going to be having the light coming from this direction generally, so this is where all our kind of primary soft light is going to be. Then we're going to have a light line going around this side, which will probably be white. White or bright red. We'll see what we do. But yeah, this is where our light is coming from, meaning this is where our darks are. Okay. So yeah, we're going to go in for purpley color and then orange, I think. I think that's what we're going to roll with in terms of our shading colors. But yeah, I will do this painting and then I'll be back again for the last bits. Yeah, we're getting through this reasonably quick. Okay, so that is our painted shading done, meaning we just got our detailed shading and our light line to do, and then we're on to the final touches after that. So this shouldn't take too long. I've already got an idea of what I want to do with the colors. As I mentioned before, we've already got our lighting direction figured out. I'll just throw in the light line with this. So yeah, we've got more soft shading here. Ooh, excuse me. We've got softer shading on this than I would normally go for, but this is where our detailed shading is going to come in handy. It's going to add a little bit more definition to some of this, because something which I did with the skin. This is something I do every now and then. I don't always do it. I haven't been doing it recently because I've been going for very intense shading. But what I did basically was I did all our darks on this, and then I did basically a wash of it, a lighter color over it, that then basically lightened up the skin tone. And because he's supposed to have a pale skin tone, it kind of fits with that. So yeah, that's what I did there. So yeah. I think I was going to say, but I can't really remember off the top of my head. But yeah, what is it we've got to do? We've just got to do the detailed shading and the light line, and then that really is more or less it, isn't it? You get the finishing touches, some texture stuff and all that to do. But yeah, so I will do the detailed shading, I will do the light line, and I will probably sign it all in this one little go here, and then I'll be back to finish up. But yeah, this has been, the second half of the recording has been significantly easier, as is usually custom. But yeah, anyways, I'll do this. Okay, so the sun has gone down, and now I'm a ghost. Against the wall. But yeah, so this is the point where the audio may desync in the video. But yeah, that is our detail shading and our light line and all that stuff done. And now that the lights are coming on outside, I'm going to take a momentary pause to turn on the lights so that my mouth syncs up with what I'm saying. Back in a second. Okay, I'm back. So yeah, we got all this stuff done. My eyes are looking a little dark there for a second. Yeah, so we're basically done, which means we just got to do the gradient maps. So as I said, I'm going to be going for gradient maps which are reasonably, that's a filter, which are reasonably red in tone. So let's start from, let's take it from the top. Let's do black, which is more red in tone. Then let's get a white, which is, let's skew it somewhat more towards orange, but we'll make it bright regardless. Well, that means we should skew this more towards pink, right? And then I'll do one here, which is slightly less pink, but it's still on that scale. It's there. Bring it up like this. To about there. Well, this should be about here. And then we'll do another one here, which is going to be up about there. And we'll put it more on the orange scale, but it'll be closer to red. So Bring it down a tiny bit more, I think. So what we've got here is maybe a little too dark. Bring that up a tiny bit. Let me bring it up to about there. Yeah, what we've got here is pretty dark, all things considered, but this should actually be like there. And by that logic, this should be like there. So the middle ones are pretty red, and then the outer ones are kind of a bit wilder. Okay, so now let's have a look. This might hurt. Oh god, jeez. It's so bright. That's our overlay. We're not going to be using overlay, we're going to use soft light. What does this look like on stuff like lighting? That does nothing. That's bizarre. That does literally nothing. Weird. Okay, so let's turn this. Oh boy. We have funny business going on here today. So, all day, this is now story time. All day, before I continue this, I'm just going to save, just in case anything goes horribly wrong. But yeah, all day, I've been having weird problems with this tablet, to the point of where, like earlier on, I got a pop. Just there, I got the same pop-up, which is where it said, "Cannot detect the tablet. Please plug in so the driver can be restarted." Tablet is currently plugged in, and as you can see, it is detecting it. So I don't know what the hell that was about. And then earlier on, the calibration screen showed up again. So I don't know. I think I'm having some funny business going on, but that's it. I'm gonna be turning it off after I'm done with this. So yeah, that has been the journey of this day. Turn this up to 60%. We want it to be reasonably intense on this, because that really brings out our red. Does the lighting do anything, or is it literally does nothing? I don't know. I've seen that do stuff in the past, but yeah. Yeah, that's one gradient map. We need to do a few of them. It's happened again. It just keeps turning it off randomly. Is it overheating or something? No, it's quite cold. I don't know. That's absolutely bizarre. Okay, now I am getting some problems with it. Okay, I really gotta speed up my process here a little bit. Duplicate that. Do it quickly. Set this one to be luminosity. This will darken everything a little bit. And again, doesn't do much to the background, as you can see. Well, it does a little bit to the background, but it's mostly on the character. So we're gonna want to turn this down to 20%. So that just deepens and darkens our colors a little bit, and then we're going to put the color burn over the top of it. Duplicate this, and then bring this up, then do a color burn, so that will bring out our background a little bit more. Yeah, this doesn't do really much to the background at all, the color burn. So yeah, that is our gradient maps done. So that kind of brings out our color palette. Darkens things. So now I'm going to need to slap on a couple of textures. Well, we're only doing the one texture just twice. Yeah, let me have a look here. I have a bit of a tickle in my nostril, so I might have to sneeze and cut that out. So if you see any edits, that's what happened. I'm going to need to bring this up. Yeah, right, so this is our texture. Bring this over, set it to overlay, and then set it to about 20%, 25%, because we want to be reasonably subtle on the character. And then, see, as you can see, it's not really doing much on the background, because the background is such a vivid color, and it's doing enough to just kind of spread out some of our colors on the character, emphasizing our lights, emphasizing our darks, lightening everything up a little bit. So we're going to duplicate this, and then I'm going to bring it all the way down to there, where it's just above our background, and that's it. Then I'm going to flip it so that it's not conflicting with anything, so that we're basically getting a secondary texture here. I'm going to turn it up to about 50%. Assuming I can do it. And then now it's nice and visible? God, it's really not that visible, is it? I think we need to turn it up more. There's 70%. There we go, that's the stuff. See, now we're getting these nice little blotches of pinky bits and all this different stuff, so that's the business. That's what we want. Okay, so that is us, more or less, I think. Is there anything else I need to do? Yeah, we didn't really have a topic this time. Maybe touched on something at some point. I mean, I've explained lighting pretty much every episode. I always explain lighting more or less. Yeah, I usually explain lighting in these. I normally talk about bits and pieces. Like I talked a little bit about the guns and stuff like that because guns are a big pain to draw. And I talked about that as we were going. So yeah, I kind of covered all the little bits that I wanted to talk about. Yeah, like I mean, I kind of touched on posing a little bit as well. Because in my notes, I checked them yesterday after I finished the first part of the recording. It's happened again. It's gonna keep doing it now. I keep seeing it happen just out of the corner of my vision. But I'm just gonna ignore it for now because I mean I am turning this off in but a moment. But yeah, so I think I've kind of covered everything I need to do really. Yeah, I touched on posing a little bit at the start and stuff like that. So I really did kind of cover a lot of the bases as we went, but yeah, so I believe that is us. I will do my outro and then I will say goodbye. So if you like the video, do whatever you normally do, whether that be liking or not. I would of course prefer if you liked it, but if you're not going to do that, I can't make it. So yeah, it's the same deal if you want to subscribe. I would of course prefer if you did it, but if you're not going to, you're not going to. I can't make you do it. And you've presumably seen a YouTube video before, so I don't have to tell you where the button is. I don't think. Anyways. And yeah, if you choose to watch the next video, I'll see you next time. So with all that said, that is us. I will say goodbye, and then I will maybe or maybe not see you next time. So, yeah. Bye-bye.